Hello everyone. Today we're gonna learn about when and where to ward from laning stage to later on in the game. First of all, let's cover the radiant side of wards. Initially, you will have two wards, one for the mid lane and other one for the side lane. Here you have two options depending upon where you guys wanna take a fight. If your team wants to fight for the top bounty rune, then you should ward this spot, as not only it will give you vision to take a fight but also cover the rune. The other spot is at the bottom, which I personally prefer a lot. You can stand here and ward close to the bounty rune spawn. This ward helps your team fight for the bounty rune and secure first blood, as well as this rune also covers the rotation of enemy position forward to mid or water runes, which is very useful information for your mid lane. If you see enemies position 4 under this ward during the laning stage, you will have a chance to punish the enemies offlane. Instead of warding the gates initially, it is advised to take watchers. If enemy supports uses twin gate to gank, the only way they have is through a watcher, and that is enough information for your team to avoid the gank. Observer wards last 6 minutes. After the initial wards are expired, now you'll have 3 wards to place. You can utilize these 3 wards to help your safe lane, off lane, as well as mid lane. If you ward the cliff, it is most likely to get dewarded. You can ward this spot again. This place doesn't get dewarded and it will also give you information about enemy mid lane's rotation. This will help your carry farm around his tower easily as well as the jungle, and help him figure out when to leave the lane. The second ward you can place is behind the enemy's safe lane tower. This ward gives you vision of TPs from the enemy as well as their carry's rotation to jungle. This ward helps you take the tower. There is an alternative to this place which is around the outpost. This ward also gives you information about the enemy's carry movement and the twin gate. Lastly, you can ward this spot. It will give your team information about enemy mid laners' rotations and rune. With these three ward setups, after the laning stage, you will have complete information about the enemy's mid lane and you can dodge the ganks easily. After 12 minutes, when the carry heroes prefer to farm jungle, this ward can come in handy to help your team gank the enemy carry in jungle easily. This ward doesn't get in the sentry area if enemy puts a sentry on the cliff, which makes it even more reliable. There's also an alternative place to ward in the same area. This warding spot is pretty broken as it gives vision of two neutral camps that carry heroes like to farm a lot. This is a type of ward that isn't likely to get dewarded. If the enemy has a carry that likes to farm ancient camps like Sven, Medusa, Gyro, or TA, then you can also place a ward here around the ancient camp. These spots are never checked. Cliff wards are always rewarded. You can place wards on cliff, but only if you're playing around it. What I mean is, in a scenario where you're playing to take the enemy's tier 2 tower, you can put a ward on this cliff for information. If an enemy comes to deward it, you and your team should be ready to fight. After the tower has been taken, even if these wards get dewarded, it's okay because it has served its purpose. Cliff wards are only good if your team plays around the ward. This is another good spot to plant a ward because even if the sentry is used on a cliff, your observer doesn't get dewarded, and this ward also helps you take tier 2. To secure the bottom lane's tier 2, this spot is really useful. This also gives information about enemy team farming ancients. Even after you have taken the tower, there's a high chance the enemy team won't clear this area while dewarding, and you will have vision of enemy team farming ancients even after the tower. To approach high ground, this spot right here helps your team have a good read of what the enemy is trying to do. This ward also gives vision here in this lane where heroes are usually hiding to initiate. Because this place is usually not expected to be warded, people mostly put a sentry here or here. And for the top lane, this corner right here is a good spot to have high ground vision. Having high ground vision while hitting tier 3 not only helps your team siege easily but also avoid throwing. For the mid to late game, when the enemy cores push lanes or split push while you're playing on the other side of the map, you can ward in the lanes to catch the heroes. Some late game lane wards can be placed here. This gives you vision of the enemy pushing a side lane and farming the jungle. These two lane wards help you read the movement of enemy heroes that are often split pushing. Usually people ward twin gates while going for Roshan, and in most cases it gets dewarded and the enemy takes control of the gates. The better position to ward while going for Roshan are these two spots. Not only these wards will cover the positioning of enemy while they're trying to come, but also give information of the fight. The reason being when the enemy is smoked, While coming to Roshan, they only focus on clearing the ward on the twin gate and don't think about other spots. As for the bottom Roshan side, these two spots can come in handy, and this same spot is applicable for the dire side as well. Now for the dire side, either you can smoke and place a ward here on the cliff with your team and fight for the bounty rune. After the fight, deny the ward yourself because once you walk from this side to fight for the bounty rune, it will become obvious for enemy team that the cliff is warded and they'll most likely check the cliff later on. Dewarding gives a lot of experience and gold for early game, so you don't want enemy team to deward it. If you get first blood because of the cliff ward, it means the ward has served its purpose and you can deny it yourself. Or you can smoke and ward here with your team and fight for the bounty rune. This ward is not going to be dewarded as nobody really checks this spot. Otherwise, if your team wants to stay at the top bounty side, then you can put a ward here. This ward helps in the fight for the bounty rune and first blood. This also covers the opponent team's rotation from position 4 to mid or water runes, which is crucial knowledge for your mid lane. During the laning phase, you will have the opportunity to punish the enemies offlane if you see position 4 of the enemy under this ward. Usually, people put a lane ward somewhere in the lane, either here or over there, but these wards often get dewarded. If you have a strong lane and you want to pressure the enemy off lane in the lane, you can put a ward next to the Lora's pool. It will give you vision of the lane as well as the Lora's pool, where the enemy heroes can be hiding. This spot is hardly checked. But in case you wanna put a defensive ward for your carry to farm jungle, then you can put a ward here. This ward covers the mid laner's rotation to top and enemy support's rotation to mid. With this ward, you can also take the watcher so you have full information of enemy's movement. For the bottom lane, ward the cliff if your heroes are strong enough to play around it, and punish the enemy heroes if they come to deward or ward it. Otherwise, you can ward this spot so it covers the lane from enemy's rotation. To pressure the enemy's tower with your team, you can ward behind tier 1 to get good information of enemy's movement and take the tower. This ward also helps your offlane to farm the lane and jungle after taking the tower. After taking tier 1 at bottom lane, this ward here helps any hero from your team farming at bottom to avoid ganks from enemy, and this is not even dewarded if enemy puts a sentry on the cliff. Not only that, this ward can be used to punish the enemy carry that is farming in this area. To pressure the enemy in the jungle, these are some of the wards that can be placed to stop the enemy from farming in their own jungle. This ward serves the same high ground purpose as discussed in the video before. For the Radiant side, people typically put sentry in this area to clear high ground vision. For the bottom lane, this small area gives a good high ground vision and it is very hard to deward, as anyone who wants to put a sentry here to deward will have to walk close to the ward and can get punished if your team is still around there taking high ground. Some other good spots to ward are these. This ward covers the ancients as well as some of the lane. If the enemy team is taking Tormentor and you have a ward on this spot, you can smoke and take a good fight around it, as they will have low HP while taking Tormentor and you have a good chance of winning a fight. This place is a good aggressive ward for Dire as they can see Radiant coming out of base while defending tier 2, and defensive ward for Radiant as it helps the Radiant side see the positioning for Dire heroes while coming high ground from mid. Here are some good warding spots. I know there are a lot of warding spots, but these are the ones that I like the most and they often don't get dewarded. Also, I would like to advise you that always keep one ward in your inventory, and whenever there's a team fight, just place the ward wherever you can in the fight. It could be either on any cliff or simply on the ground. That ward can provide so much information to your team and they might just win the fight with that information. Make sure every ward that you place has an objective behind it. Those objectives could be Roshan, team fight, tower, protect your heroes from enemies gank, or aggressive wards to punish the enemy heroes on map. Thank you so much for watching the video and I hope this was helpful for you.